How an avoidant loves you back. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever loved someone who seemed to run when you got close, who pulled away when things got deep, who made you question if they even cared? If you've been in that situation, listen up, because what I'm about to tell you could change the way you see love forever. First, understand this. An avoidant is not someone who doesn't love you. They do love you, but in a way that is different from what you expect. The problem? They fear dependence, they fear loss of control, and most of all, they fear being hurt. But that doesn't mean they don't feel. It just means their love is wrapped in armor. An avoidant partner may not express love in the way you expect, but that doesn't mean they don't feel deeply. Instead of verbal affirmations or grand romantic gestures, they often show their love through actions. This can be confusing for someone who is used to direct expressions of affection. While you may be looking for consistent "I love you" statements, deep conversations about feelings, or frequent reassurance, an avoidance love is quieter, more subtle, and embedded in what they do rather than what they say. One of the most telling ways an avoidant partner expresses love is through acts of service. They may not say, "I care about you," but they will take care of practical things in your life. They'll fix your car, ensure you have everything you need, and handle responsibilities that make your day easier. This isn't random. It's their way of feeling valuable in the relationship without exposing themselves emotionally. Doing things for you allows them to show love while maintaining emotional safety. Another way an avoidant shows love is through presence. They may not always initiate deep talks or physical closeness, but if they continue to be around you, it means they value your presence. Avoidants don't invest time in people they don't care about. If they make an effort to see you, spend time with you, or include you in their routine, that's a significant indicator of their feelings. Unlike more expressive partners, an avoidant won't shower you with affection, but their commitment is in their consistency. If they keep coming back, despite their natural tendency to pull away, it's because they trust you more than you realize. When an avoidant engages in small, unspoken acts of affection, it's important to recognize them. They may suddenly place a blanket over you when you fall asleep, remember details about your preferences, or send you useful information that they know would benefit you. While these gestures may seem insignificant compared to passionate declarations of love, for an avoidant, they are huge. Every small act is a way of saying, "I'm thinking of you," without the vulnerability of having to speak those words directly. Another crucial sign of love from an avoidant is their willingness to compromise or adjust their behavior. Avoidants value independence and personal space, so if they are making changes, whether that's making more effort to communicate, initiating plans, or showing concern for your emotions, it means they are stretching beyond their comfort zone for you. This process is not easy for them because it challenges their deep-seated fears of enmeshment, but if they are trying, it's because they see you as worth it. It's also important to pay attention to how an avoidant reacts when you need help. They may not be comfortable providing emotional support in a traditional way, but they often show up when it truly matters. If you're struggling, they might not be the one to sit with you and talk through feelings, but they will find practical ways to help, whether that's running an errand, solving a problem for you, or just being present in a quiet but reassuring way. They express love through reliability rather than emotional expression. Lastly, an avoidant's love often appears in their willingness to share space with you. While they may not be the most physically affectionate, the fact that they let you into their personal world, whether that's inviting you into their home, sharing a part of their routine, or allowing you into their thoughts in small doses, is a sign of deep trust. An avoidant who makes room for you in their life is showing you love in the most vulnerable way they can. Recognizing these quiet expressions of love can transform the way you see your relationship and help you appreciate the depth of their feelings, even when they're not spoken aloud. An avoidant partner often tests emotional safety in ways that can feel confusing or even hurtful if you don't understand their psychology. When someone with an avoidant attachment style loves you, they don't always move toward you. They may pull away instead. This withdrawal isn't necessarily a sign that they don't care. Rather, it's a subconscious test to see if you will remain stable and consistent, even when they create distance. Avoidants have learned, often from early life experiences, that closeness can lead to pain, control, or rejection. Because of this, when they start developing feelings, their survival instinct kicks in, telling them to retreat before they get hurt. Their way of protecting themselves is to create space, and this reaction is deeply ingrained. It's not always a choice they make consciously, but a learned response to emotional vulnerability. One way avoidance tests safety is by pulling back after a period of closeness. You may have just spent a wonderful weekend together, shared deep conversations, or felt emotionally connected, only to find them suddenly becoming distant, slow to respond, or less affectionate. This can feel alarming, making you question whether you did something wrong. But in reality, this withdrawal isn't about you. It's about their internal struggle with intimacy. Their subconscious fears that staying too close will lead to a loss of autonomy or eventual heartbreak, so they pull back to regulate their emotions and reestablish their sense of independence. What they are watching for during this time is your reaction. If you chase after them, demand explanations, or push for reassurance, it confirms their fears that relationships come with pressure and expectations they cannot meet. On the other hand, if you remain calm and steady, giving them space without emotional punishment, they start to realize that you are different. They begin to feel safe in the knowledge that they can take space and still be loved. This builds trust over time and reduces their fear of intimacy. Another way avoidance tests emotional safety is by downplaying the relationship or making statements that seem dismissive, such as, "I don't know if I want anything serious," or "I just need a lot of space." They aren't necessarily saying this because they don't want to be with you, but rather to gauge whether they will be pressured or controlled. When they say things like this, they are watching to see how you respond. If you react with panic, try to convince them to commit, or take it personally, it reinforces their fear that love equals loss of freedom. But if you respond with confidence, acknowledging their feelings without becoming anxious, it reassures them that they are safe in the relationship. Avoidance also tests safety by revealing small vulnerabilities in measured doses. They may tell you a little about their past, share a fear, or open up about something personal, but they will do it cautiously. Afterward, they may retreat or act more distant, not because they regret sharing, but because they are watching for your reaction. If you overanalyze, pry for more information, or expect immediate emotional closeness in return, it can cause them to shut down again. But if you simply listen and accept what they share without pressure, they feel safer to open up again in the future. The key to handling these tests is consistency. Avoidants are not testing you because they want to push you away permanently. They are testing because they need to know if they can trust you with their emotions without being suffocated. Over time, if you continue to show that you are steady, reliable, and not reactive, their defensive walls start to lower. They begin to see that love does not have to mean control or pain, and that intimacy can be safe. This realization allows them to love more freely without the fear that they will lose themselves in the process. When an avoidant partner pulls away, it can feel confusing and even painful, especially if you crave closeness and reassurance. It's natural to want to reach out to ask what's wrong or to try to bring them back into connection as quickly as possible. But here's the truth. When an avoidant person needs space, the worst thing you can do is chase them. It might seem counterintuitive, but giving them the room they need is actually what strengthens the relationship in the long run. Avoidants aren't pulling away because they don't care. They pull away because closeness, even when it's positive, can feel overwhelming to them. Deep down, they associate intimacy with loss of control or fear of being consumed by another person's emotions. This doesn't mean they don't want love. It means they've learned to protect themselves by creating distance. When they step back, they are subconsciously trying to regulate their emotions and restore their sense of independence, their way of making sure they don't lose themselves in the relationship. If you react with panic when they withdraw, if you start texting more, demanding explanations, or expressing frustration, they experience this as pressure. Even if your intention is simply to understand what's going on, they feel trapped. This reinforces their belief that relationships are suffocating and that they can't maintain their independence while staying close to someone. As a result, they may withdraw even further, deepening the cycle of distance and pursuit. On the other hand, if you allow them the space they need without reacting anxiously, they begin to feel safer. This is because at their core, avoidance fear being controlled or engulfed. By showing that you can remain steady and secure even when they pull back, you are demonstrating that love doesn't have to mean losing autonomy. Over time, this realization makes them more comfortable with closeness because they no longer see it as a threat. Space does not mean disconnection. Many people fear that if they give an avoidant partner too much space, they will lose them completely. But in reality, it's the opposite. When an avoidant feels trusted to take the space they need, they feel more secure in the relationship. They start to see you as someone who respects their boundaries rather than someone who demands too much from them. This builds trust, and trust is what eventually allows them to come closer on their own. It's important to remember that space doesn't mean shutting down emotionally or cutting off communication completely. It simply means giving them room to breathe without pressure. This might look like allowing them to take time before responding to messages, not overanalyzing their moods, or letting them have solo time without making it a big issue. Your job is to stay present without pushing. Let them know directly or indirectly that you're there when they're ready, but that you're not going to force closeness. When they do come back, and they will if the relationship is strong, it's crucial not to punish them for needing space. If they feel like they are returning to guilt, interrogation, or resentment, they will be less likely to trust the relationship in the future. Instead, greet them with warmth, as if nothing was wrong. This creates a secure foundation where they feel safe to move toward you, rather than constantly needing to protect themselves. Over time, as they see that they can take space without damaging the relationship, they begin to trust the connection more. They start to see that love doesn't have to mean sacrificing their independence, and as a result, they naturally begin to close the distance on their own. The irony is that by allowing space, you actually create the conditions for deeper intimacy. The more they trust that they can come and go freely, the more they will choose to stay. Avoidant individuals often struggle with intimacy, but this struggle has little to do with their partner and everything to do with their past experiences. If you're in a relationship with an avoidant, it's easy to take their emotional distance personally. You might wonder if you're not enough, if they don't care, or if you're doing something wrong, but the truth is, their difficulty with closeness is rooted in learned survival mechanisms, ones they developed long before they met you. Many avoidants grew up in environments where emotional vulnerability was either discouraged or unsafe. They may have had caregivers who were emotionally distant, inconsistent, or overly critical. As children, they learned that expressing emotions led to rejection or discomfort, so they adapted by suppressing their needs and becoming self-reliant. Over time, this turned into a deep-seated belief that relying on others is risky. Their independence became their armor, and intimacy became something to fear rather than embrace. This means that when an avoidant struggles to open up or pulls away when things get emotionally intense, they are not rejecting you. They are reacting to the subconscious belief that closeness leads to pain, control, or eventual loss. Even if you've done nothing wrong, their mind may tell them that getting too close is dangerous, so they instinctively create distance, either by withdrawing emotionally, avoiding deep conversations, or becoming focused on other aspects of their life as a way to self-regulate. Understanding this dynamic is crucial because it helps you separate their internal struggles from your worth in the relationship. If you take their distance personally, you may react with frustration, insecurity, or an urge to push for more connection, but when you push, they feel even more overwhelmed, reinforcing their fear that intimacy comes with expectations they can't meet. This often leads to a cycle where the more you see closeness, the more they retreat. The key to breaking this cycle is creating a secure space where the avoidant feels safe to approach intimacy at their own pace. This means respecting their need for independence without interpreting it as a lack of love. When they see that you are not trying to control or change them, they begin to associate closeness with safety rather than pressure. Another important thing to recognize is that avoidants often express care differently. They may not initiate deep emotional conversations or frequently verbalize their love, but they show it in ways that feel safer to them through actions, consistency, and reliability. If you focus only on what they aren't giving emotionally, you might miss the ways they are expressing love in their own way. This doesn't mean you should accept emotional neglect or ignore your own needs. It's important to communicate what makes you feel loved, but in a way that doesn't make them feel trapped or criticized. Instead of saying, "You never open up to me," you can say, "I love when we share things with each other. It makes me feel connected to you." This shifts the focus from what they're doing wrong to an invitation for closeness on their terms. Patience is crucial when loving an avoidant. Their avoidance isn't a sign that they don't care. It's a self-protective mechanism they've carried for years. But if they are in a relationship with you, it means they want to connect, even if it's difficult for them. The more secure and understanding you are, the more they can learn that intimacy doesn't have to mean losing themselves. Over time, as they experience a love that doesn't demand or threaten their independence, they can begin to rewire their old beliefs and trust that closeness is safe. When an avoidant loves you, the clearest sign isn't in their words or even in their presence. It's in the moments when they let you in. Avoidants are wired to protect themselves from emotional vulnerability. They've spent most of their lives keeping people at a distance, ensuring that no one gets close enough to hurt them. So when they start to let their guard down and reveal parts of themselves, even in small ways, it's a powerful indicator that they trust you. And for an avoidant, trust is love. One of the first ways they let you in is by sharing small details about their inner world. Avoidants are not naturally expressive when it comes to emotions. They often struggle to articulate how they feel, and they may avoid deep conversations about relationships or personal fears. But if an avoidant begins to open up about their past, their struggles, or even their thoughts on life, it's significant. It means they feel safe enough with you to expose a part of themselves that they don't normally share. These moments may seem minor, but for them, they are massive acts of intimacy. Another way they show love is through their willingness to make adjustments for you. Avoidants value their independence, often to the point where they resist change or compromise in relationships. But when they truly care, they will start to make small but meaningful shifts in their behavior. This could be as simple as responding to texts more frequently, spending more time with you, or even being open to conversations about the future. They might not do these things perfectly, and sometimes they may even struggle with them, but the effort itself is a sign of their love. One of the biggest indicators that an avoidant loves you is that they allow you into their personal space. Avoidants are fiercely protective of their alone time and their physical and emotional space. If they invite you into their home, let you see them in their unguarded moments, or allow you to be part of their daily routines, it's a clear sign that they feel deeply connected to you. It may not be grand romantic gestures, but for an avoidant, it's their way of saying, "You belong here with me." They also show love by seeking you out in moments of stress. Avoidants are known for being highly self-reliant, often choosing to deal with their problems alone rather than turning to others for support. If they begin to lean on you, even in small ways, it means they trust you enough to break their lifelong pattern of emotional self-sufficiency. Maybe they ask for your opinion on something important, share a personal frustration, or simply want to be near you when they're feeling overwhelmed. These moments are rare but deeply meaningful. Finally, one of the most overlooked ways an avoidant shows love is through consistency. While they may struggle with affection and deep emotional conversations, their commitment often appears in their reliability. They might not always say the right words or express their emotions in a traditional way, but they show up. They remain in your life, even when things get difficult. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, staying is one of the hardest things to do, because it means resisting their instinct to run when things become emotionally intense. If they are still there, despite their fears, it's because they care more than they let on. Avoidants may never express love in the way you expect, but if you pay attention, their actions reveal the depth of their feelings. When they let you in, even in small ways, it's a sign that they are learning to trust love rather than fear it, and for them, that is the most vulnerable and meaningful act of love they can offer. Love is not always spoken in words, nor is it always shown in the ways we expect. When loving an avoidant, it's easy to misinterpret their distance as a lack of care. But the truth is, avoidants love in a different language, one of quiet action, subtle trust, and a deep fear of losing themselves in intimacy. Understanding this allows us to see the love that exists beneath their hesitation. They may not shower you with verbal affection, but they show love through their presence, their consistency, and their small acts of care. They may pull away at times, but that distance is not rejection. It's a test of emotional safety, a challenge to prove that love can exist without suffocation. The greatest thing you can offer them is patience, security, and an unwavering belief that closeness does not have to come at the cost of their independence. And when an avoidant lets you in, even in the smallest of ways, it is a powerful act of trust. They are choosing you over their fear. They are choosing connection over isolation. And in their own way, they are proving that love is not about control or ownership, but about freedom. The freedom to be themselves without fear of losing what matters most. Thank you for taking the time to understand love in a way that is not always obvious. Thank you for your patience in loving someone who may not always know how to receive love. And most of all, thank you for choosing to see beyond the surface, for recognizing that love is not about how loudly it is spoken, but how deeply it is felt. If you've ever struggled to understand an avoidant's love, know that you are not alone. The journey may not be easy, but love that is built on trust, respect, and freedom is worth the effort. Keep showing up, keep believing in love beyond words, and keep creating the kind of connection that lasts. Thank you.